As electricians, we have a lot of different testers that we use out there, and there's tons of different reasons why we might have one tester over another or have some really advanced, really expensive test equipment. So first we're going to start off with the digital multimeter. Now the digital multimeter, basically what you're going to need to know as an apprentice starting out is how to check voltage, how to check amperage, and how to check resistance with a digital multimeter. You're going to fold the back out and put the kickstand up, set the thing in front of you, pull your two leads out, take the selector knob, turn it to voltage, take one lead and go to one thing, take another lead and go to another thing. So let's now move into the tester. Now a tester is something that you're probably going to use all day, everywhere you go. This is going to be in your back pocket probably more than anything. If you do construction, if you do service, doesn't really matter. The next tester that you should have is a plug tester, and more specifically a GFCI plug tester. You're going to test an unfathomable, can I actually fathom? I don't think I can fathom. I can't fathom. The next thing as an electrician that you're probably going to run into all the time are tick tracers. I don't personally use tick tracers as much as I use all of my other pieces of test equipment. The tick tracer is something more if I've got like a bunch of conductors, you know, coming out of a junction box, and I'm trying to identify which one is on or off. I'll have somebody at a panel turning breakers on and off, and when this like beeping stops, I know, oh, they just shut it off. Cool. All right, turn it back on, beeping starts again. Okay, turn it off, beeping stops. So I know I'm on the same wire that they're on.
Okay, this is how basic electronic theory works. I'm gonna do my best to make this 60 seconds. I'll do more videos if you guys have questions. I get nerdy for this stuff. Okay, so check it out. Here we have our circuit. Right here is our battery, that's our voltage source, a switch, a fuse, and a light bulb. These lines are the wires. Depending on what theory you go with, positive to negative, negative to positive, you got to think of this as water flowing. The electricity is going to flow from one post all the way through the circuit to the other post. We're going to go with the traditional sense that it goes from positive to negative. Okay, so pink highlighter is our electricity. So right now we have voltage up to that point. Until we turn that switch on, that's where it stays. So we'll just go like this right here. Move that down over here. Now our voltage can flow freely through this rest of the circuit. Now we turn the switch on and the voltage flowed all the way through the circuit until we get to the light bulb. This is critical. This light bulb acts as the resistor in the circuit. The resistor is the thing that uses up the most energy in the circuit. Now listen, everything that electricity flows through has a level of resistance. Part of those volts will drop off at those resistance points. That's where the work is done. Part 2.
Basic electrical tips. Alright, as you know, we all have circuits in our house. Go over each one. Now the black one, that's the power. Very dangerous. White, that's neutral. Neutral basically brings the power back to the circuit in the panel. And green keeps everything grounded. So remember, green is safe, white is risky if the black is connected, and black is always power. Always use protection.
This is for you beginners, so I'll be using a Harbor Freight meter instead of my Fluke. Let's get your first voltage measurement. Connect battery negative to the COM or common jack. Now red lead to battery positive. Now I'm setting my meter to a 20 volt scale since I'm measuring battery voltage. The range on a multimeter is like the zoom on your camera. If you're zoomed in too close, then you're out of limits and you won't have a reading. Zoom out a bit and we get a good reading. On the other hand, if we're zoomed out too far, then we don't have enough resolution. Notice that decimal place move over to the left as I zoom in. And the Harbor Freight meter is pretty close to the Fluke, about 0.02 of a volt difference.
Today we are going to be talking about circuit breakers. along with outlets, how to tell if they're hot, and how to trace them back to the circuit breaker. First thing, these right here, they're not just switches. Something very special about them. You see, electricity is a bunch of moving electrons. These moving electrons create heat. The more you put on the circuit, the more electrons that move, and the more heat that gets created. This heat trips the breaker, thus making sure that the heat doesn't burn down the place. If you take the neutral and put it on a hot, that will trip the breaker because it's causing a feedback loop. You don't want to do that. That'll actually damage the breaker. When the time comes necessary, it might not trip, thus burning down the place. Two ways to tell if this is hot. First is with a fluke. I recommend this for new electricians. Hot to neutral, neutral to ground, hot to ground, which should give you the correct voltage readout. In this case, 120. The other way that's more experienced is with a stick tester. It's hot. Don't stick a knife in. Now let's trace it. First we put our transmitter in. Then we take our receiver, trace it up and down a few times. Find it, turn it off. Now you know more.
This is volts AC. This is volts DC. This is millivolts DC. So if you want to go back to volts, you just divide whatever you see here by 1,000. This is ohms, and anytime you see OL, it means open loop, which represents that you're outside of the measuring range. This is continuity, which is also done in ohms. This is milliamps AC, and this is amps AC. And in order to access all of these yellow settings, all you have to do is press the yellow button.
Cámara, pues va, pongan la música, hijo. Pongan la música, hijo. Cámara, enséñales. Sin miedo, es sin miedo al éxito.
Yeah, I'ma tip myself, I'ma spend it on myself, I'ma drop it like it's pouring, I'ma pour it on myself. Check the money making bank account number. That's that shit that's never getting bounced on your bitch. I do the money dance. I just made 100 bands. When the star says sign for it, I'ma leave my autograph. Dollar bills, watch it falling for me. I love the way that feels. Dollar bills, keep on falling for me. I love the way it feels. I came here to drop some money, dropping all my money. Drop some money, all this stuff so yummy, yeah. Twerking, when I buy the things I like. Dollars dropping on my ass tonight. Everyone silent.